Humans of the cardboard, it is time yet again to talk about the top 10 most hype future decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's no secret that the OCG gets a lot of their stuff well before the TCG, and because of that, we get left sitting here looking at pretty much everything that they have and what we want to play, but then just have to wait a couple months to really have our chance to mess around with it. And so it leaves us a lot of time to see a bunch of stuff and kind of like get ready and prep what we're most excited for. So these are my top 10 decks that I think are most exciting going forward. It's a very interesting list. I had to edit some things late when I something clicked in my brain on what I'm actually excited for. This is my personal list, so feel free to let me know in the comment section down below what your list looks like relative to mine. I'd love to hear that down below. But before we get into the top 10, let's start with a couple of honorable mentions. The ones that I literally had on my list, and then last night I kind of booted them because I kind of realized something about myself and what I'm excited for personally. So, first honorable mention is Earthbound Support. We have no idea when we're going to get this. It's from Animation Chronicle in the OCG, so it'll be imported somewhere random in the TCG. Still a cool engine. Has a decent payoff. Searches any field spell generically. There's actually some good stuff here, but I haven't seen enough in the OCG, and there's just other stuff I'm more excited about right now. Salamandrate's kind of an unfortunate one because I have kind of been singing the praises of Salamandrate, and that before all their support was out, I was like, don't give up hope. I still think the support is decent. Is it enough to get them back up into fringe rogue status? I'm not sure yet. I'm really, really not sure. The deck, even though the ceiling of the deck has certainly increased, your ability to lose to Nib certainly hasn't decreased. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Still cool, but other stuff I'm more excited about. And the last one here is Horus, the new archetype. It's cool enough to me. I think this archetype is going to see play immediately as a generic engine that just pumps out level 8 bodies with extra utility. They're big. They push for damage going second. They can get rank 8s. They can help you with synchro 10s. There's some good utility there, but it is fragile. That's why it has to be a support engine. So that's why I'm just kind of like, meh, another generic support engine. Okay. And now we get into the top 10. Starting off with number 10 is Val Monica. So these are the archetypes that I kind of threw in at the last second saying, they're in. We don't know anything about them aside from their initial first artworks revealed and like a sentence of like barely any description. So we don't know anything, but that still makes me more excited because I'm just not over the moon for the three honorable mentions and anything behind them. So I'm just saying every single deck build pack, 1 to 2 of those archetypes are going to hit super hard for me almost every time. There are very few deck build packs where I'm like, all 3 of these can go in the garbage for me personally. Like, I don't want to mess with them. They're not my types of decks. Whatever. They're out of here. This one is the least of the 3 to me. Not always been a huge waifu kind of fan of that art style or that aesthetic for a deck. But listen, if it plays cool and it has a cool mechanic, I could be into it. It looks like it might be pendulum based. Very, very hit or miss for me pendulum wise. My favorite pendulum deck is Zephyra because it can play a more control-y style. I don't love pendulum decks that go super, super combo-y. So that's what I'll be looking for here if it is in fact a pendulum deck. But for now, we're going to sit back and wait. Number 9, Memento. This archetype looks a little more intense than the Val Monicas. And again, we don't know where it's going. Is this a new zombie archetype? That could be cool. We just kind of got the new zombie fusion cards in Battles of Legends. So that's could be something here. If this is in fact a fusion-based archetype, they can make use of that zombie fusion engine. I don't know. I really don't know what to expect here, but I've always thought zombies are cool, and if there's some nice tools for them, I think that might be something I might be interested in messing with. Just one little notch above the Val Monicas. And lastly, we have the last archetype. I can't even remember what they're called right now, because their name is weird. Oh, Centurion, that's right. This one, to me, aesthetically, is the most pleasing so far. I love the look of the mech here. Almost gives me like... what is that show? What is that game called? I can't even remember what the game's called, but it gives me vibes from like a video game, but not fully giant mech suit, but still a little bit playful and like cartoony at the same time. I love that kind of vibe. So very, very cool. This is my number 7. like I said, this one could be the whiff. These could be way more controlly in my style. We will see when they come out. But for now, just on the prospect of they are getting support, they still end up in my top 10 at this point. Next up is Fire King. Kind of same idea. We are confirmed for a Fire King structure deck coming in the next couple months in the OCG. And we'll probably get it around, I don't know, maybe Christmas time if that's... Or no. Is it the... I don't know. I can't even... I guess we're not even confirmed for the Fire King structure deck yet. But whatever. We might get it confirmed or it'll be imported somewhere else. Either way, I've always liked this archetype. I've always thought they looked really cool. It had some cool mechanics. They just need to speed the deck up a little bit and give it some good payoff. A new boss monster maybe, stuff like that. And listen, structure decks have been pretty on. Konami has done a good job with structure decks. That's why I'm a little more optimistic about this just in general. It's 8 new cards. Konami made Trap Tricks a solid rogue deck, still has been for the last couple months. And I think they can do the same thing here if they really push it the way that it really needs. So I'm going to be optimistic about it. I know it's Fire Kings and they're pretty poop, but they do have a handful of cards that are pretty cool and do set them up to 8 cards to definitely get them into a good place, like rogue status at least. So there's number 6, Fire Kings. Number 5, or no, that is number 7. This is number 6, Ogdo Addicts. Very, very cool. I've always been a Reptile fan. But they weren't like good at all for a long time. And then we got Ogdo Addict, and there was something there, but it wasn't all the way there. And they were much better when they were able to abuse DPE, but everything was kind of better when DPE was around, so it didn't really help the deck that much. But that's what they need. The 2 new cards are nice. I think the new monster is a really nice one-of in the deck if you're playing it more pure. And the quick play spell is a 3 of like no matter what. This is a phenomenal extender play, and it's searchable. I love it. This card's awesome. It leaves me in the same place I've been with for a long time with the deck, which is I want them to get their own Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. There's only 2 types I really feel that strongly about, and it's this one and Insects. And if they would get their own Hieratic Seal, Link 2-ish, generic enough monster in your type, they would be so much better, and they could be a rogue deck immediately. But unfortunately, until we get that, they're just okay. But I do still think the support is great. And now we're just kind of in a spot where they just need that one last push. That one little last push, and we are in there. So that's what we're going to be hoping for down the line. But still pretty excited to mess around with these, and I will definitely be updating my build. I know I've had people asking about updating my Ogdo Addict list, but I didn't really feel much reason to. But now we have the new Reptile support and Battle as a Legend, as well as this and Age of Overlords. So it's all kind of coming down the pipeline right at the same time, which is sweet. Number 5, Altergeist. This is a cool one. And you'll see that like the way I broke up this list, it's kind of broken into 3 parts. The first part is all the stuff we have unrevealed. So the 3 Valiant Smashers archetypes plus the Fire King support. We have none of that really revealed as far as what the actual cards do. That's why they're in their own category. Then we move to these 2 archetypes, Altergeist and Ogdo Addict, which are kind of in like this. I'm excited for them, but like I understand that like they may not be what I want them to be. Altergeist is in a really interesting spot. Their support really pushes them into more of a mid-rangey strategy where they try to do like some 2-card plays, 3-card plays that get a ton of value if they resolve. But I am nervous that like one of the reasons that trap decks end up doing well at times in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that they don't lose to the traditional defensive cards that a lot of decks play. The Droll and Lockbirds of the world, the Nibiru's of the world, those kind of cards that are kind of, metagame cards, I have to have Nib for Kashtira or whatever. Altergeist plays right under that. But with this new support, you kind of start playing into those cards more and more. So even though the deck's ceiling rises, and maybe even consistency with seeing 2-card plays that actually get you places instead of just setting 5, setting 4, you are now losing to a lot of those just like standard, main deck defensive cards that everyone in the game plays. And that's where I really worry about Altergeist. That being said, I'm still excited for them. This is the exact kind of support I want to see for Subterror, one of my favorite decks of all time, to make it more mid-rangey so that way people don't hate it. Like, I don't think people are going to hate Altergeist that much anymore because they're actually play like a mid-range strategy, mid-range combo strategy. And they're not just setting 5, saying go, and like solemning you and floodgating you and all that stuff anymore. Or at least not nearly as much. So Yeah, really cool. I like the route they went, but I am still nervous that it doesn't actually make them that much better. But we'll see. All right, these top 4 are by far and away my top 4. On any given day, on any given mood I'm in, I can honestly flip these around, and number 4 could be number 1, number 1 could be number 4, but these are the 4 archetypes I'm most excited for, and it's why I'm actually really excited for Dune, because I believe 3 out of these 4 are all coming from Dune in a month, which is very cool. First up, Rescue Ace. I made a video a couple days ago talking about Rescue Ace and why it's the best deck in the OCG, or at least has been for 2 weeks. Very small sample size, but it was the best performing deck for 2 weeks. It's a very, very well-designed deck. Konami really, really was intentional in making this archetype work, pretty much have powerful plays with really good payoff, but still work under some of the biggest cards in the game. So you're going +4, +5, under Droll, under Nib, under Maxi. That's more OCG based, but still, same idea. It's really cool. It plays this cool mid-range game. It has its own Havness-esque hand trap in its archetype. That's really awesome. It's a really cool archetype. I can't wait to mess around with them. I already have my core, so I just need to get the 2 new cards. And I'm excited to mess with them, for sure. They're going to be fun. Next up, number 3, Unchained. They're cool, man. The new support's good. The Link 2 is great. The first level 6, the red level 6, that one's really good. The blue level 6 is a cool one-off for certain plays to make some certain stuff available in your deck. But I'm excited to play Unchained Pure. I'm also excited to take advantage of the fact that I think the release of this Unchained support allows a Fiend pile deck to be playable. I'm gonna have to mess around with it and really see like what's worth it, like how much of each engine. But like you're talking Labyrinth, you're talking Tour Guide, maybe even a little BA, maybe even a little Dark World, and of course Unchained. There's some really cool plays that open up here for sure. So I'm gonna keep an eye on it. But I'm definitely going to mess around with some stuff there. Very, very cool. Pure and Fiend pile. They're going to be very fun to mess with. Number 2, Volcanics. This is the one out of those top 4 that is not in Dune. It's actually coming in the Fire Legendary Duelist pack. I'm really excited to mess with Volcanics. I think they're cool. I think they're exciting that like they actually are playable now. I like that they have just like the potential of like a free win condition at times. You know how there are decks that... you know, depending on, you know, stuff like Runic, where they could just banish really key one-ofs off your opponent's deck early in a duel, and now their deck, like, doesn't really work the way they want it to anymore. This is kind of the same, where, like, if you go first, even if your opponent, like, is able to play, is able to get things going, even going second, you may have already burned them for over half their health, and then if you're playing against something that needs to pay life points, like Punk or Gold Pride or something like that, they are either going to kill themselves or be super, super low. So all you have to do is resolve the summon of Emperor one more time and the duel is over. So very, very cool. I want to mess around with it. The Runic builds, the Sprite builds, I'll mess with them just to see what's like the best way to get this deck playing in a competitive scene. But I think it has some cool facets to it. On top of that, Bonfire coming out. We don't know when we'll get it, but Bonfire coming is a really cool addition to, you know, the deck. This is really the only deck that can make use of Bonfire in any sort of competitive sense, but still, we'll get something else down the line, I'm sure. It's a very cool one. I'm very excited to mess with Volcanic, so they're number 2 for me. Which leaves us with number 1, and at the moment, today, if you were to ask me, out of these top 4, and like I said, they'll fluctuate, I would say Infernal Knight is my most hyped deck right now. I'm really excited. This isn't normally my style, but I guess that's more of something where people's impression is probably that Infernal Knight has been a super heavy combo-y, hand rip your hand kind of deck in the past. That's not how I plan to play this at all. At most, it's like a mid-rangey to slightly combo-y variant. But if I can, maybe even control, where your goal is to like set up a Charlemagne, which should be at least a Spell and Trap Negate and a quick effect pop on the opponent's turn, while also having like 2 to 3 follow-ups. And that's the idea. It's like you have to handle my Charlemagne, and I'm going to have 2 to 3 follow-ups next turn to make another Charlemagne. That's going to be the idea, at least. We will see if that comes completely to fruition. But the deck's powerful, man. The deck really is powerful. I don't think it gets the credit it deserves from the OCG because of Max C. It's still a deck that can struggle with Max C. You do need to summon like usually 4-ish times just to even get to Charlemagne, if not 5 or plus. So with Max C, the deck really struggles. And so that's why we keep an eye out for for this one in the TCG is we don't have to deal with Max C here. So the deck can beat Nib, the deck can work around Droll in a lot of cases. Max C is the real killer. And without that, I think this deck gets a little bit extra unlocked in the TCG. So very cool. There's my top 10 list. I think it's also important to keep in mind that we're going to get these 3 deck build pack archetypes revealed pretty quickly here. I mean, we're still months away, but like they'll do one and then a couple weeks later they'll reveal almost an entire another one. And they will either jump up my list significantly if I really like them, stay about the same if I'm okay on them, or just completely jettison right off the end of the list and something else will take its place for me. For all 3 of those, as well as Fire King. We'll get the Fire King stuff started, getting started with reveals, and we'll get a good idea how good Konami's going to try to make them, push them. And also, we're still right in the middle of Age of Overlord reveals. We've got like 20, at the end of this weekend, we're going to have like 25 days and like 50 cards to be revealed. So that's a lot in a short amount of time, in like a 3-week span, 3.5-week span. And I'm very excited to see what comes there. Obviously, we could get some stuff that definitely jumps onto this list for sure. So I will update this down the line. I think this is a fun video just to talk about what's coming down the pipeline, what everybody's excited for. So that's my list. Like I said, it's my list. Feel free to let me know what your list looks like relative to mine. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on that. And also let me know some other ideas for some of these decks on like what you're thinking about messing around with them for, what you want to play with them, your ideas for the decks. I'd love to hear that stuff as well. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel for more stuff from me down the line, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.